Have you ever been driving and you notice that on train tracks they have tons of graffiti, or you drive through a new city such as Boston or New York or New Jersey and you notice that there is so much graffiti everywhere and you can't help but admire it because some of them come out looking like this. These are known as some famous graffiti art pieces. So today my purpose is to have you guys consider should graffiti be considered art? And so I would just like to go ahead and give thank you to my works cited references. I have an archaeologist from Yale. I have an art gallery that gives their ideas on what graffiti is. And I have two sources, an article and a TED Talk video talking about graffiti being considered as art or vandalism. So today I'm going to be covering how it is an artist's expression, and then why graffiti is considered vandalism, and how it can boost the value of properties in the area. And so graffiti is to be considered a form of art because it allows the artist to channel their emotions and their creativity. So graffiti, for the term of it, was originally a reference to ancient inscriptions. So for example, Egypt and Rome and Greece were the most popular ancient times to find graffiti back in the day. And so the Yale archaeologist John Darnell states ancient Egyptians loved to write and draw. Graffiti was a form of communication for other people who might have visited or passed along the road. And so the history of graffiti just dates back to those times, but it has evolved over the centuries to refer to text or graphics applied to the surface. So nowadays it's a lot of visual art as well as word art. So with graffiti, self-expression comes through graffiti, and it refers to the use of graffiti as a way for individuals to express their thoughts and emotions and experiences in a creative and publicly visible way. And so what are the motives for graffiti? Well, there's reasons such as self-expression. People have thoughts that they don't feel safe enough to let out verbally, and so they express themselves through art. There's social and political activism to make voices feel heard when they're being repressed. The challenge to mainstream culture, and so it's a way to resist the mainstream culture. And then there's also taboo or rebellious natures. Some people just enjoy the thrill of doing something that's illegal. And so a great example of graffiti and an artist that does graffiti is this artist known as Banksy. And so these are some of Banksy's most popular graffiti pieces that cause a lot of controversy. Banksy is one of the most controversial street artists in the world, and it's because he has statements and disruptive visions that impact cities, that have impacted cities, viewpoints, and encouraging revolution in the art world. And so because he brings so much controversy, he prefers to have his identity remain unknown. And so because graffiti can be considered something bad, most people consider it to be as vandalism, so it's synonymous with vandalism. Because graffiti has been paired with deliberate rebellions and provocativeness, it took on the full vandalist label. And that's part of the reason why today most artists do decide to stay low-key. So some of the facts about graffiti is actually that most people think that graffiti is done by gangs, when in fact, 10% of the people that do graffiti are actually involved in a gang. The other 90% are typically males that range from the age 12 to 19. Another reason why people would go against graffiti is it tends to take $1 to $3 that's spent every year by each taxpayer to remove graffiti. But graffiti is known today because it was started in America, in Philadelphia in the 1960s, and was mainly used as a political statement and to mark gang territory rather than to provide artistic value. And so now that we have artworks coming out like these, graffiti is somewhat more acceptable. So there's still a debate about the boundary between defacing and beautifying the graffiti. So it's when businesses and cities come together to create spaces for graffiti to be admired. Graffiti can boost businesses and cities by bringing in sources of civic pride, public artistry, and outdoor engagement in cities. So strategically placed art on the side of businesses or community centers can help with the beautification of a neighborhood, but can be a return of investment for commerce as well. So it just helps to bring in different types of people. A good example of this is why New York City and places like Boston too are extremely busy, is because people actually enjoy the art that's out there. So not all graffiti is negative. Some can transform a community by keeping urban areas and residents energized and inspired. And a really great example of this is some businesses that are in Santiago, Chile, and this just helps bring some color to the city. But another local example of this is the NC State Tunnel, NC State University Tunnel. This is where a lot of students and just regular people go to express themselves artistically. And so you can put any kind of spray paint, writings, visuals, whatever you want on these walls. And so my proposal is that if more college campuses and businesses and cities were to open more walls or tunnels for graffiti, then graffiti would be more acceptable as an art form rather than looked at as vandalism. So as this speech ends, I hope you'll take the information about graffiti being a beautiful art form into consideration. And so I would like to finish this off with a quote by Banksy, where he states that people say graffiti is ugly, irresponsible, and childish, but that's only if it's done properly. Banksy. Thank you.